In the vast reaches of the galaxy, humanity had expanded beyond its homeworld, colonizing planets rich with resources and potential. But beneath this facade of progress, a darker reality simmered. The Galactic Alliance, a coalition of advanced alien races, viewed humanity as little more than a resource to be exploited. Their technology monitored their people, controlled in secret locations across the galaxy. Human colonies lived in fear of Alliance enforcers who patrolled their territories, seeking any sign of dissent. On a desolate moon named Arcanus, a group of former military officers and rogue scientists gathered in a hidden bunker far from the prying eyes of the Alliance. This was a place where they could speak freely and strategize without the risk of being discovered. The mood was tense as they huddled around a flickering holoscreen that displayed fragmented messages intercepted from the Alliance. Their eyes widened as they listened to a revelation that shook them to their core. The Alliance was planning to implement a new directive aimed at systematically erasing the last vestiges of human independence. Among the group was Captain Elise Voss, a once renowned fleet commander whose reputation had been tarnished by the Alliance's smear campaign. She had fought valiantly in previous conflicts, but had been forced into hiding after being accused of treason. Her piercing blue eyes sparkled with determination as she addressed the gathered rebels. The time for passive resistance is over. We must take action before it is too late. Her voice echoed through the chamber, igniting a fire in the hearts of her comrades. Beside her was Dr. Aiden Kessler, a brilliant engineer whose inventions had once propelled humanity into the stars. Now, he felt the weight of his failure to protect what they had built. He had dedicated his life to creating technology that would advance human capabilities. But now he envisioned using his skills for a different purpose. We have the knowledge and the resources to build a fleet that can stand against the Alliance, he declared passionately. We can turn the tide of this war and show them that humanity will not be subdued. As the rebels exchanged ideas, their plans began to take shape. They discussed the potential of repurposing older ships long forgotten in the depths of spaceships that had once carried human pioneers to the stars. They envisioned a fleet not just of machines, but of hope, a symbol of resistance that would inspire others to join their cause. The room buzzed with excitement as each member contributed their expertise, from combat strategies to engineering insights. They were united by a common goal. Suddenly, a young recruit named Lena, a skilled hacker, burst into the room, her face flushed with excitement. I just intercepted a message from the Alliance, she exclaimed. It details a shipment of weapons and technology set to arrive at a nearby planet. If we strike now, we could gain a critical advantage. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. This was the opportunity they had been waiting for, the chance to make a statement and gather resources for their fledgling fleet. Captain Voss nodded decisively. We will take this chance. It will be dangerous, but it is a risk we must take. The Alliance must learn that humanity will no longer bow to their will. We will fight back, and we will win. The group erupted in cheers, their spirits lifted as they realized that they were no longer victims but warriors ready to reclaim their destiny. As the planning began, the rebels set to work in a frenzy of activity. They gathered supplies, forged alliances with sympathetic factions, and trained tirelessly for the mission ahead. Each member understood the stakes and the weight of their decisions. The rebellion was no longer just a dream, it was becoming a reality. They were ready to face the might of the Galactic Alliance and prove that humanity would rise once again. In the aftermath of their decision, the rebels worked tirelessly to prepare for the mission that would define their rebellion. The abandoned shipyard on Arcanus became a hive of activity as they transformed old ships into a formidable fleet. With each passing day, their numbers grew, and so did their resolve. Under the guidance of Captain Elise Voss, they began to embody the spirit of defiance that had long been stifled. Dr. Aiden Kessler led a team of engineers in the heart of the shipyard, where they scoured the remnants of ancient human vessels. Each ship was a relic of a time when humanity had boldly ventured into the stars. Now they were reborn as symbols of resistance. The crew pored over blueprints and technical schematics, piecing together knowledge that had nearly been forgotten. They discovered ways to integrate alien technology into their ships, enhancing their weaponry and defense systems beyond anything the Alliance had anticipated. Meanwhile, Lena, the young hacker, worked alongside a small team to create advanced communication systems that would allow the fleet to operate undetected by the Alliance. They crafted codes and encrypted signals that would ensure their movements remained a secret. Their fingers danced over the control panels as they shared insights and strategies, forging a bond that would carry them through the challenges ahead. As the days turned into weeks, the rebels trained relentlessly. Their combat drills included zero-gravity maneuvers, evasive tactics, and even hand-to-hand combat in simulated environments. They were determined to outsmart the technologically superior Alliance. Each session was a blend of adrenaline and camaraderie as they pushed one another to excel. Captain Voss often joined the training sessions, demonstrating techniques she had honed over years of experience. Her presence inspired the recruits to dig deeper within themselves to unlock hidden strengths. The atmosphere was electric as the day of their first strike approached. They gathered in the main chamber for a final briefing. The tension was palpable as they reviewed their strategy for intercepting the Alliance supply ship. They would divide into teams, each with a specific role to play. Aiden outlined the plan with clarity and confidence. The plan is simple but dangerous. We'll strike hard and fast, use the element of surprise to our advantage. We need to disrupt their supply line and create chaos among their ranks. As they prepared for launch, a mix of fear and excitement coursed through the rebels. Many had never set foot in a starship, let alone engaged in combat, but the thought of fighting for their freedom ignited a fierce determination within them. They were no longer just a ragtag group of dissidents. They were a revolutionary fleet ready to challenge the status quo. The moment of truth arrived as they boarded their ships, each one outfitted with makeshift upgrades that reflected their ingenuity. Captain Voss took the helm of the lead ship, a battle-worn cruiser that had seen better days, but now gleamed with renewed purpose. The crew gathered around her, ready to follow her into the unknown. With one last look at the shipyard that had become their sanctuary, she felt a surge of pride in her comrades. We are more than our past. We are the architects of our future. Together, we will carve a path toward freedom. As the fleet lifted off the ground, a cacophony of engines roared to life. They shot into the void of space, racing toward their target. The thrill of the unknown pulsed through their veins. Each pilot felt the weight of history on their shoulders, but also the hope of countless humans watching from the shadows of oppression. They navigated through the stars, guided by the light of their shared purpose. With every passing moment, they drew closer to their objective, hearts racing and spirits high. The rebels prepared to make their mark on the galaxy. As the first strike approached, the fate of humanity hung in the balance. They were ready to unleash their rebellion and show the Galactic Alliance that they had awakened the indomitable spirit of a united humanity. As the fleet approached the target location, a remote spaceport known for its frequent Alliance supply shipments, the tension in the ships was palpable. The rebels were a mix of seasoned fighters and eager novices, each feeling the weight of the moment. Every heartbeat echoed the resolve that had brought them here. Captain Elise Voss stood at the helm, her eyes scanning the distant lights of the spaceport. She could feel the energy of her crew radiating through the ship. The plan was simple yet daring. Aiden's voice echoed through the communication system. We'll split into 3 teams to maximize our impact. Team Alpha will execute the boarding operation, while Teams Bravo and Charlie provide cover and create distractions across the port. The key is speed and precision. We cannot afford to lose our advantage. With their roles established, the fleet silently approached their target. The spaceport loomed larger in their view, surrounded by a handful of Alliance patrol ships that drifted lazily, unaware of the impending storm. As they entered the docking lanes, Voss initiated a series of complex maneuvers that her crew had practiced repeatedly. They weaved through the docking bays, avoiding detection, while maintaining their approach. The adrenaline surged through her veins as the countdown to action began. Team Alpha, the boarding crew, consisted of the most skilled fighters, including Lena, who had quickly proven her worth in training. As they prepared to launch their assault, she felt a mix of nerves and excitement. Her fingers danced over the controls of her ship as she shared glances with her comrades. Their determination mirrored in each other's eyes. With a final deep breath, she steadied herself, ready to face whatever awaited them on the other side. The moment arrived. With a rush of adrenaline, Voss barked the command, and the ships blasted forward. Teams Alpha Bravo and Charlie engaged their thrusters at full power, piercing the silence of space. With a sudden burst of speed, the element of surprise was theirs as they descended upon the unsuspecting spaceport. Team Alpha landed first, their ship docking with the supply vessel in a cloud of exhaust and noise. The rebels quickly disembarked, moving as one toward the entrance, using the element of surprise to their advantage. They breached the ship's hull with explosive charges, their training kicking in as they flooded into the cargo hold, weapons raised and ready. Inside the cargo ship, chaos erupted. The crew members were caught off guard, some fumbling for their weapons, while others scrambled to understand what was happening. Lena led her team through the narrow corridors, disarming opponents with practiced precision. Her heart raced as she fired her blaster, taking down an enemy before they could react. Meanwhile, Teams Bravo and Charlie executed their roles flawlessly. They unleashed a barrage of fire on the surrounding patrol ships, drawing attention away from Team Alpha. With every blast fired and every ship that fell, the stakes escalated. The rebel fleet maneuvered with newfound confidence, striking at the heart of the Alliance's operations. As Team Alpha reached the control room, Lena hacked into the ship's systems with lightning speed. "We need to disable their communications and alert systems," she shouted over the din of battle. Her fingers flew over the control panel as she initiated a series of commands that would create confusion and delay any response from the Alliance. Just as she completed, the hack alarms blared throughout the ship. The Alliance had realized they were under attack. The rebels were moving quickly, but they were still outnumbered, and the tide of battle could shift at any moment. Voss turned to her team. "We need to secure the cargo and get out of here now." With a sense of urgency, they worked to load essential supplies and weaponry onto their ship, while holding off the increasingly aggressive Alliance crew. The firefight intensified as blaster bolts ricocheted off the walls, but the rebels pressed on, their resolve unyielding. They were fighting not just for their freedom, but for every human subjugated by the Alliance. As the last crate was secured, Lena breathed a sigh of relief. "We've got what we came for," she shouted. "We need to retreat now." Voss nodded, signaling to her crew to move quickly. They fought their way back to the ship, racing against the clock as reinforcements from the Alliance began to pour into the spaceport. The rebels boarded their ship as the alarms blared louder, the air thick with tension. They blasted off just as enemy ships closed in behind them, racing through the docking bay and into the void of space. As they escaped, the exhilaration of their victory washed over them. They had struck a blow against their oppressors and shown that humanity would not be silenced. As they regrouped in the safety of the stars, the rebels celebrated their triumph, but deep down they knew this was just the beginning. They had ignited a spark of hope and set into motion a revolution that would change the course of history. As the rebel fleet regrouped in the depths of space, the atmosphere was electric with excitement and adrenaline. The successful heist of the Alliance supply ship had not only equipped them with crucial resources, but had also sent shockwaves across the galaxy. The news of their daring operation spread like wildfire through the comms networks of human colonies and sympathetic factions alike. Back on Arcanus, the rebels gathered in their makeshift command center. The mood was buoyant as they shared tales of their exploits. Team Alpha recounted their nail-biting boarding action, while Teams Bravo and Charlie detailed their fierce firefight against the Alliance patrols. Laughter and cheers filled the room as they reveled in their victory. But beneath the surface, a sense of urgency simmered. They knew the Alliance would not take this attack lightly. Captain Elise Voss stood before her crew, her expression a mix of pride and determination. "We have shown the galaxy that humanity will not be silenced," she declared. "But this is just the beginning. The Alliance will retaliate, and we must be prepared. We need to rally support from every corner of the galaxy." Dr. Aidan Kessler nodded in agreement. "We have resources now, but we need more allies. If we can reach out to the human colonies and other disenfranchised species, we can build a coalition capable of standing against the Alliance. We must show them that we are stronger together." With their mission clear, the rebels began to devise a plan to broadcast their victory and call for support. They decided to hijack the Alliance's communication networks and send a message across the galaxy that would resonate with every oppressed voice. It was a risky endeavor, but if successful, it could rally countless beings to their cause. Lena the hacker took charge of the operation, diving into the ship's systems to develop a way to breach the Alliance's secure communications. She gathered a small team of tech-savvy rebels to help her work late into the night. The room hummed with activity as they crafted their message, blending video footage from their daring raid with a powerful speech that called for unity and resistance. After hours of meticulous planning and programming, the moment of truth arrived. Lena looked up from her console, her heart racing. "This is it," she announced. "We're ready to send the message." The rebels gathered around her, anxiously awaiting the signal. With a deep breath, Lena initiated the upload. The holoscreen flickered to life, displaying their victory footage, followed by a bold statement from Captain Voss, urging every human and ally to join the fight against oppression. As the message propagated through the stars, they anxiously monitored the response. The silence was deafening at first, but soon their comm systems lit up with incoming transmissions. Messages of support and solidarity poured in from human colonies scattered across the galaxy, as well as from alien factions who had suffered under the Alliance's rule. The rebels felt a surge of hope as they realized their actions had sparked a movement. With newfound allies rallying to their cause, the rebels began planning their next steps together. They strategized on how to use their momentum to disrupt the Alliance's operations on a larger scale. Their confidence grew as they understood that they were no longer fighting alone. Word of their rebellion reached distant worlds and emboldened other oppressed species to rise up. Many sent messages of support, pledging their resources and fighters to the cause. The rebels found themselves at the center of a burgeoning coalition, united by a common goal of liberation. As their influence expanded, the rebel fleet received an unexpected invitation from a prominent alien faction known as the Zorathians, who had long resented Alliance control. They proposed a meeting to discuss potential alliances and shared strategies for fighting back against their mutual oppressor. The rebels quickly accepted, knowing that forging such alliances would strengthen their position in the ongoing conflict. As they prepared for this critical meeting, Captain Voss felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. She knew that this coalition could shift the balance of power in the galaxy, but also understood the complexities of uniting diverse groups under a single banner. The stakes were higher than ever, and the path ahead was fraught with challenges, yet the spirit of defiance that had ignited their rebellion burned brighter than ever in her heart. With a renewed sense of purpose, the rebels set their sights on the future, ready to forge alliances that would challenge the Galactic Alliance and transform their movement into a formidable force for freedom. As they embarked on this new chapter, they understood that the fight for humanity's place in the galaxy was just beginning, and together they would shape a destiny of hope and resilience. As the rebel fleet prepared for their critical meeting with the Zorathians, a sense of urgency permeated the air. The recent successes had rallied support, but the Alliance was not sitting idle. They were aware of the growing unrest and were likely strategizing a counteroffensive that could crush the fledgling rebellion if left unchecked. Captain Elise Voss felt the weight of leadership pressing down on her shoulders, but she also felt the strength of her united crew. With the Zorathian ship approaching, Voss gathered her senior officers in the command center. Lena was busy finalizing the communications link, while Diver Aiden Kessler prepared their tactical brief. She looked at her crew, her voice steady. "We must present a united front and demonstrate that our coalition is not just a collection of rebels, but a force for change. If we can convince the Zorathians to join our cause, we will gain both strength and credibility." The Zorathian vessel docked with an elegant flourish, its sleek design contrasting sharply with the rugged human ships. The rebels waited in anticipation as an honor guard of Zorathian warriors stepped aboard. The Zorathians were a tall species with iridescent skin and sharp features, their presence commanding respect and attention. At the forefront was their leader, High Commander Sither, a figure revered for his strategic brilliance and fierce loyalty to his people. Sither surveyed the room, his piercing gaze landing on Voss. "You lead this rebellion," he stated, not as a question, but as a declaration. "I have heard tales of your daring feats and your unyielding spirit. We are here to discuss how our forces can align against the Galactic Alliance." With that, the discussions began. They shared their experiences of oppression and the sacrifices made in their struggle against the Alliance. Voss outlined their recent successes and their vision for a united front. Aiden presented tactical data on potential Alliance vulnerabilities, while Lena explained their plans for coordinated strikes and intelligence sharing. Sither listened intently, nodding at points of agreement, but also challenging their assumptions. We have faced the Alliance's wrath for generations, and we know they will not hesitate to strike back if they sense weakness. He leaned forward, emphasizing the gravity of their situation. You must be prepared for their retaliation. It will be swift and merciless. The rebels exchanged glances, understanding the gravity of Sither's warning. The Zorathians had endured the Alliance's cruelty and were keenly aware of the dangers ahead. Voss stepped forward. We know the risks. We have already faced their forces and emerged stronger. We believe that together we can turn the tide of this conflict. As discussions deepened, they strategized on how to mount a series of coordinated operations designed to cripple the Alliance's supply lines and command structure. The rebels would leverage their knowledge of human territories, while the Zorathians would utilize their intelligence on the Alliance's movements across the galaxy. This partnership began to take shape as they formulated a series of audacious plans. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the rebel ships. The Alliance had launched a surprise attack on their position, intending to preempt the formation of the coalition. Voss's heart raced as she grabbed the comms. We have to move now, she shouted, gathering her crew. She ordered them to their stations as the ships prepared to engage the enemy. The rebels and Zorathians sprang into action as the enemy ships closed in. The Zorathian warriors proved their mettle as they took their places alongside the rebels, forming a united front. Their tactics blended seamlessly as they maneuvered through the chaos of battle, firing in perfect harmony. With Voss leading the charge, the rebel fleet unleashed a barrage of fire against the Alliance forces. The Alliance ships were taken by surprise as the rebels and Zorathians worked in unison, executing flanking maneuvers and strategic strikes that left the enemy reeling. The tide of battle shifted as the Alliance realized they were facing a coalition far stronger than they had anticipated. Amidst the cacophony of blaster fire and explosions, Lena's voice came through the comms. We need to hit their command ship. That's where they're coordinating this attack. Voss nodded, rallying her crew with renewed determination. Let's finish this, she shouted. We will show them what it means to face a united front. As they broke through the enemy lines, they surged toward the command ship, determined to disrupt the Alliance's operations. Once aboard, they fought fiercely against the Alliance crew, the stakes higher than ever. The momentum of their fight carried them forward as they made their way to the heart of the ship. The battle raged on around them, but the rebels pressed forward, fueled by the desire for freedom and the promise of a brighter future together. They were proving that humanity would no longer be a pawn in the Galactic Alliance's game. They were rising as a force of defiance, ready to carve their place in the galaxy. As the fierce battle raged on aboard the Alliance command ship, the rebels fought with a singular purpose, their determination electrifying the air around them. They pushed deeper into the heart of the ship where the command center was located, each step resonating with the hopes of countless oppressed beings across the galaxy. Captain Elise Voss led her team through the smoke-filled corridors, their senses heightened, adrenaline fueling their every move. Dr. Aiden Kessler worked alongside Lena as they navigated the labyrinth of hallways. The cacophony of blaster fire echoed around them, but they pressed on undeterred. The stakes had never been higher. They needed to reach the ship's mainframe and disable its communications to throw the Alliance into disarray. If they could disrupt the flow of information and command, the rebels could gain a decisive advantage. As they approached the command center, Voss motioned for the team to take cover. They peered around the corner to see a group of Alliance officers frantically trying to coordinate their response to the surprise attack. This was their opportunity, Voss whispered to her team. We need to hit them hard and fast. They won't expect us to breach their command center. With a fierce battle cry, Voss led the charge into the room. The rebels stormed in, guns blazing. The element of surprise was on their side as they quickly overwhelmed the startled officers. The room filled with the sounds of blaster fire and shouted orders, but the rebels fought with a ferocity born from desperation and hope. Lena dashed toward the central console, where the command ship systems were housed. She accessed the control panel, her fingers flying across the screen as she initiated a series of commands to disable the communications and alert systems. Aiden covered her flanks, watching for any incoming threats as the last remnants of the Alliance command struggled to regain control of the situation. As Lena worked her hard, race time felt like it was slipping away, and every second counted. She could hear the alarms blaring throughout the ship, signaling their presence to the Alliance reinforcements rushing to the command center. She focused intently on her task, knowing that failure was not an option. "We have to cut them off," she shouted over the din. With a final keystroke, the screen flickered to life, displaying a countdown that would initiate a total communications blackout across the Alliance fleet. Lena turned to Aiden and Voss. "We need to get out of here now. They'll be coming for us in force." The rebels quickly regrouped as they moved to exit the command center, but their escape was blocked by a surge of Alliance troops pouring into the room. The odds were suddenly stacked against them. The rebels were outnumbered and surrounded, but Voss refused to back down. "This is our fight," she declared. "We cannot let them take back control." In a fierce exchange of fire, the rebels fought valiantly, each member of the team understanding the gravity of their situation. As blaster bolts whizzed past them, they pushed back against the Alliance forces, channeling every ounce of their training and resolve. With each fallen enemy, they made space for their escape, but the reinforcements kept coming. Just as it seemed they would be overwhelmed, a group of Zorathian warriors burst into the fray, their distinctive forms cutting through the chaos with lethal precision. High Commander Sither had arrived with a contingent of his best fighters. Together, they turned the tide of the battle within the command center as the combined forces of humans and Zorathians launched a counteroffensive. Voss felt a surge of relief as Sither fought alongside them, the unity of their coalition strengthening their resolve. They pushed back against the Alliance forces retreating toward the nearest exit. Their combined strength allowed them to carve a path through the chaos. Finally breaking free from the command center, they dashed through the corridors of the ship as alarms blared and explosions rocked the hull. They raced toward the hangar bay where their ships awaited, but the journey was fraught with danger. Alliance troops were closing in, trying to regain control of the ship and eliminate the threat. Lena's fingers flew over her console as she initiated a lockdown on the hangar doors, ensuring that their escape route would remain secure for as long as possible. They burst into the hangar bay just as the last of the Zorathian forces joined them. The sight of their ships brought a renewed sense of hope. With blasters raised, they fought their way to their vessels. Each rebel understood the importance of their mission and the sacrifices made to reach this point. As they boarded their ships, Voss rallied her crew. "The Alliance will feel the impact of our actions," she declared. "We have struck a blow that they will not easily recover from." With the ships powered up and ready to go, the rebels launched into space. Just as Alliance reinforcements flooded into the hangar bay, they shot out into the void of space, leaving the chaos of the command ship behind. The exhilaration of their victory coursed through them, but they knew this was just the beginning. As they regrouped in the safety of the stars, they realized they had not only disrupted the Alliance's operations, but had also solidified their coalition with the Zorathians. Together, they would forge a path forward, ready to confront the greater challenges that lay ahead. They were no longer just a band of rebels. They were a united force, ready to reclaim their destiny in the galaxy. With the rebel fleet safely regrouped in the depths of space, a palpable sense of victory hung in the air. The successful assault on the Alliance command ship had not only disrupted their communications, but had also strengthened the bond between humans and Zorathians. As Captain Elise Voss surveyed her crew, she felt a surge of pride at what they had accomplished, but she also knew that the battle was far from over. The remnants of the Alliance were reeling from the blow, but they would not remain passive for long. Voss gathered her senior officers, including High Commander Sither, for a critical strategy meeting in the command center. "We need to capitalize on our momentum," she began. "Our next steps will determine the future of this rebellion." Aidan Kessler spread out a star chart across the holotable illustrating the routes and territories of the Alliance. "We've gained significant intel from our recent operations," he explained, pointing to a cluster of red dots indicating Alliance supply lines. "These are their weakest points. If we can coordinate a series of strikes, we can cripple their supply network and disrupt their ability to respond to our actions." Sither nodded in agreement. "The Zorathians have suffered greatly under the Alliance's control. If we can show them that the tide is turning, it will encourage more to join our cause. We must strike swiftly and decisively." Lena chimed in as she reviewed the data she had gathered. "Our previous communications blackout has sparked interest and support from other factions. The more strikes we execute, the more allies we will draw in. The Alliance cannot maintain control if they are spread thin and facing multiple threats." With the strategy set, Voss outlined their first target, a remote supply depot located on the edge of an asteroid belt. It was crucial to hit fast and hard before the Alliance could regroup. After reviewing their plan, they knew that timing and coordination would be key to their success. As the fleet made the jump to the target system, the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. Each rebel knew that they were on the precipice of something greater than themselves. This was their chance to change the course of history and reclaim their rightful place in the galaxy. Upon arrival, the fleet emerged from hyperspace in a tight formation. The supply depot came into view, a sprawling complex nestled within the rocky embrace of the asteroid field. As they scanned the area, Voss noted the presence of several Alliance ships patrolling the perimeter. They were prepared for an attack, but they would not be prepared for the combined might of the rebels. Lena initiated a comprehensive scan of the facility. Identifying key weak points, she relayed the information to Voss and the command crew. They would need to split their forces to create chaos within the depot while securing vital resources. With the plan in place, Voss issued the order to launch teams Alpha Bravo and Charlie. Each team had specific objectives designed to maximize their impact. The rebels moved with purpose, executing their roles with precision as they navigated the dangers of the asteroid belt. As Team Alpha breached the depot's outer defenses, a fierce firefight erupted. Rebels poured into the facility, taking out Alliance guards with determined resolve. The chaos quickly spread as Teams Bravo and Charlie engaged from multiple angles, creating a whirlwind of confusion and destruction. Inside the depot, Aidan and Lena worked together to secure vital technology and resources. Their goal was to gather weapons and supplies, while simultaneously sabotaging the facility's operational capabilities. They moved swiftly through the corridors, studying charges and disabling systems as they went. Back outside, the situation was escalating. The Alliance ships had realized they were under attack and began scrambling to respond. The rebels were outnumbered, but they fought with tenacity. Each ship was a testament to their resolve, maneuvering skillfully among the asteroids, using the terrain to their advantage. In the heart of the battle, Voss's ship was surrounded by enemy fighters. She navigated with precision, executing evasive maneuvers while firing back with a renewed ferocity. She could feel the weight of her crew's hopes resting on her shoulders, but she was determined to lead them to victory. As the fight raged on, Lena's voice crackled over the comms. "We've set the charges," Aidan confirmed. "We need to get out of here now." With the facility in chaos, the rebels regrouped and made their way back to their ships. As they launched into the void, just as the depot erupted in flames behind them, a wave of satisfaction washed over the crew. They had dealt a significant blow to the Alliance's supply line and demonstrated their strength as a united force. With the remnants of the Alliance scrambling to regain control, the rebels knew they had created an opening to strike again. They were gaining momentum, and with each victory their coalition grew stronger. The path ahead was fraught with challenges, but their resolve was unbreakable. Captain Voss felt a renewed sense of purpose as they made their way back to their base. They were more than just fighters now. They were a symbol of hope, a beacon of defiance, lighting the way for those who had long lived in the shadows of oppression. The revolution was gaining ground, and together they would forge a new future in the galaxy. As the rebel fleet returned to their base on Arcanus, the atmosphere was electric with anticipation. Their successful raid on the Alliance supply depot had not only bolstered their resources, but had also ignited a fire of resistance. Throughout the galaxy, news of their daring strike had spread quickly, inspiring more oppressed beings to join their cause. Captain Elise Voss stood on the bridge of her ship, feeling the weight of hope and determination from her crew. They gathered in the command center to assess the aftermath of their latest operation. Aiden Kessler displayed new intel on the holoscreen, highlighting regions where the Alliance was vulnerable. The tides of war were shifting, and they could sense the fear and confusion among their enemies. Sither stood beside Voss, his presence a reminder of the strength of their coalition. Together, they could achieve what once seemed impossible. "We must build on this momentum," Voss said, addressing her assembled crew. "The Alliance is reeling from our strikes, but they will regroup and retaliate. We need to act before they can reestablish their defenses." Lena chimed in, her eyes shining with excitement. "We have allies who are ready to rise up. There are several key planets with human populations that have been waiting for a signal. Our victories can galvanize their efforts and bring even more forces into the fold. If we can coordinate strikes across multiple fronts, it will further destabilize the Alliance." Hayden nodded, adding urgency to the conversation. "We can't afford to wait. We need to strike swiftly and decisively to draw in more support and make it clear that the Alliance is losing control." With a new plan forming, Voss outlined a series of coordinated operations aimed at several key human colonies. Each target would serve as a rallying point for the revolution. She knew the risks involved, but also understood the necessity of these actions. If they could liberate those worlds, it would send a powerful message across the galaxy. As they prepared for their next series of strikes, the rebels began mobilizing their resources. They sent out encrypted messages to sympathetic factions and human colonies calling for support and cooperation. Each ship was readied, each crew member infused with a sense of purpose. They were no longer just fighting for survival. They were fighting for a future where freedom was a right, not a privilege. Days turned into weeks as they executed their coordinated strikes, liberating planets one after another. Each victory brought more support from previously hesitant colonies. The coalition grew stronger with each successful operation. As they moved from one liberated world to the next, the message was clear. Humanity would no longer bow to oppression. However, the Alliance was not idle. Their response was swift and brutal as they dispatched reinforcements to key systems, attempting to crush the burgeoning rebellion. With every victory, the rebels faced escalating resistance. The stakes had never been higher. In a final push, Voss gathered her crew for one last operation. This would be their most ambitious strike, yet they aimed to target the Alliance's central command facility, located on a heavily fortified planet known as Orcs 3. The risks were enormous, but the potential payoff was even greater. If they could dismantle the Alliance's command structure, it could tilt the entire war in their favor. As they prepared for the mission, the crew felt a mix of fear and excitement. Voss stood before them, drawing on their collective strength. Together, we have faced insurmountable odds and emerged victorious. We have proven that we are not just rebels, we are a united force fighting for our freedom. Today, we will take the fight directly to the heart of the Alliance. With the fleet assembled and their hearts set on the mission, they launched into the depths of space, racing toward Orcs 3. The battle ahead would test their resolve, but Voss knew they were ready. They were no longer the underdogs. They were a powerful coalition standing against oppression. Upon arrival, the planet loomed ominously with its heavily fortified defenses, but the rebels were undeterred. They executed their meticulously crafted plan, splitting into teams to target multiple points of entry. Simultaneously, they engaged the enemy, launching an assault that caught the Alliance off guard. As chaos erupted across the facility, Voss led her team through the complex with determination. They fought fiercely against overwhelming odds, taking out guards and disabling systems. The sound of blaster fire filled the air, but the spirit of defiance drove them forward. Finally reaching the command center, Voss and her team confronted the high-ranking officers of the Alliance. With a final surge of resolve, they executed a daring plan that dismantled the command structure, sending shockwaves throughout the Alliance fleet. As the dust settled, the rebels regrouped and surveyed their victory. The command center was in ruins, and the Alliance's grip on power had been shattered. They had dealt a decisive blow that would reverberate throughout the galaxy. With the knowledge that their coalition had changed the course of history, Voss and her crew emerged from the chaos. They had fought for their freedom, and won. They were no longer just a group of rebels. They were a symbol of hope and resilience, inspiring generations to come. As they navigated back into the stars, the rebels knew their fight was far from over, but they had ignited a revolution that would transform the galaxy together. They would continue to stand against oppression, ready to carve out a future where freedom reigns supreme for all beings.